After hitting the very top, he got betrayed and badly bodied. The strongest heroes on the planet teamed up just to erase him from history. But right at the last millisecond, time glitches out in his favor. Thrown back to the past, he gets his awakening as an ignored, trash-tier newbie. His brain still holds all the cracked experience of a master though. Breaking the system rules, he makes a deal with an exiled god, and just like that, everything changed. He unlocks a wild fusion of holy light and shadows, now commanding an unstoppable legion. He's gonna track down every fake hero and dominate this world with pure OP power. One day, monsters pour out of mysterious gates and plunge the world into pure chaos, wiping out entire cities. By clearing these gates, 7 hunters hit 9 stars, founding the 7 great houses. Our MC narrates being the first in history to reach that level without a single blessing. Being a necromancer, he always walked around surrounded by his bone minions. This elite squad thought the kid was a threat capable of destroying the whole order. Over in the East City, now completely consumed by flames, they finally show up to wipe our hero off the map. Right away, he figures out the famous Romanov house decided to show their faces, covered in wounds. The MC grips a broken, blood-stained pocket watch. Ryoga can barely breathe after getting completely bodied. Dropping to his knees in the middle of the chaos, he holds onto the item with all his strength. Filled with rage, the boy curses out some guy named Dmitri. That's when he spots a hooded figure in the rubble, glaring down at him. Revealing himself as Dmitri Romanov, the Mage King mocks our hero for reaching his limit. Completely confused, the MC questions why they want to take him down. He asks for their reasons and the villain laughs in his face, confirming everything. Turns out the Constellations freaked out over someone getting so cracked on their own. Calling Ryoga the Immortal King, Dmitri says all that power is a massive threat. Disgusted, our boy glares at his rival and calls it pure nonsense. But the mage fires back, saying controlling the dead breaks the rules of the world. He claims that at this level, divine power decides the victory between them. Mocking him, he laughs at Dimitri's ego and reveals why he stayed quiet until now. Then, an overwhelming pressure explodes from the MC's body, shutting him up. Amidst this tension, a legion of bones and skulls starts to form. This sinister force takes over the entire scene in seconds. Activating the Eclipse art, he creates a true field of death right there. The villain recognizes the curse technique as a bizarre army rises up. Startled by the Immortal King's strength, the mage decides to erase his existence. Immediately, a massive sphere of golden light descends, slicing through the skies. Ryoga realizes the enemy triggered the Eye of Odin and knows he's at a disadvantage. Combining supreme magic, Dmitri launches his most devastating attack. That massive power gathers way up high in a terrifying way. With zero mercy, the mage fires that beam of pure destruction at the Immortal King. Even so, our MC smiles, planning to test one final trump card before the end. Seeing this, the scumbag screams in shock, not understanding that smile. Out of nowhere, the broken watch in Ryoga's hand reacts with an intense light. The system alerts that this time artifact detected a divine power, and that's where it gets crazy. The conditions are met and he's getting thrown back into the past. To activate the item, the first rule was being a 9-star hunter. Liking the constellation's power, he decided to boldly steal it from the enemy. Without a second thought, the devastating beam hits the artifact head-on. Desperate, Dmitri yells, demanding to know what the Immortal King pulled off. Smirking, the kid announces he's gonna borrow Odin's power. He flips him off and swears he's gonna crush the 7 houses in the future. Just like that, the hands spin frantically backwards. A surreal light swallows everything around him. In the blink of an eye, the vision focuses on a plain, white ceiling. Ryoga wakes up startled, gasping for air. With his heart pounding, he checks his hands, completely lost on what just happened. Looking around, he tries to find any clue about the place. Quickly, he realizes he's in his old house. Staring at the artifact in his hand, it hits him that this wild gamble actually worked. Consumed by hate, he remembers Dmitri and promises revenge. The system warns that the watch is broken for good and can't turn back time anymore. And it makes sense. The thing is completely trashed in his hands. Chuckling to himself, he admits that stealing divine power was a genius bet. Right then, he sees he went back 23 years to his class selection day. Everything is reset to level 1, but with an OP bonus of absolute mental resistance. Because of this, the game gives 3 options: martial artist, mage, or priest. Last time around, the kid picked the mage class without even thinking, but now the tables have turned, and he decides to pick later so he can dominate everything. Laser focused, our boy gets ready to use all his 9-star experience. Jumping into action, he heads straight to the local hunter market. Inside, a super friendly clerk walks up to greet the kid. When the girl tries to sell him stuff, he cuts her off and asks for the Ring of the Dark Abyss. The poor girl freezes on the spot. Stuttering, she warns him about the curse, but he says he just wants to know the price. With no time to lose, the boy keeps walking through the market. Frantic, the seller warns that the shop won't cover damages, but he funds the purchase anyway. Opening the little box, he gets why nobody would pay $2 million for a busted item. The catch is that this ring fries the mind of whoever tries to wear it. But he has an ace up his sleeve that no one in the world expects. Without holding back, he equips the item, releasing a heavy dark energy. He explains that whoever resists the impact gets the ultimate necromancer power, taking in every drop of that bizarre force. Suddenly, everything around distorts into a pure nightmare scenario. The boy looks back and finds out what the real danger is. He was the memory of that trash Dimitri in his worst form. Humiliating our hero, the mage says it's impossible to win without divine power. Next, a giant illusion tries to suffocate our MC. Facing the incoming blow, the Phantom mocks that turning back time won't help, since the outcome is always going to be defeat. Completely immersed, Ryoga stands perfectly still facing the danger. And just like that, everything changed. The system blocks the attack instantly. Thanks to his OP mental resistance, he tanks the illusion head-on. Then, the notification confirms he passed the ring's test. Freed from the curse, the shadow power awakens fiercely inside our boy. The secret was just not fighting back, and that's how he became a legend in the past. Feeling the monster's power on his back, he comes up with a new plan. If he needs a blessing, he's gonna hunt down a deity that accepts a necromancer. The panel beeps, confirming the kid unlocked the item's full strength. On top of that, the ring levels up to epic rank right on the spot. Flashing a cocky smirk, he enjoys the new power spike. Right after the class screen pops back up, only now there's a badass new choice. Without blinking, he becomes a necromancer and even gets the Death Guide title as a bonus. That heavy presence dominates everything, revealing the boy's new level. The best part is the mana cost for summoning drops by 20%. Brimming with confidence, the kid declares that the warm-up was excellent, but checking the panel, he realizes he only has 2 active spells to use right now. The first one is Raise Undead, turning any corpse into a minion on the spot. Moving on to Bone Control, reminding him his rank is rock bottom right now, so even with all his knowledge, he can't bypass the system's level rules. Playing fair would only get him to 7 stars, and the top requires crazy methods, which means just awakening as a necromancer early wouldn't be enough to win. With his mind still set on crushing Dimitri, the kid realizes he needs a patron. He immediately bounces, catching a direct flight to a super isolated spot on the map. This time, the destination is the Temple of Kronos, currently packed with tourists snapping pics. Standing in the crowd, he remembers the old gods who lost the war and their glory. However, the titans who accepted Olympus's victory can still operate in the world. Right in front of the stone altar in the ruins, he gets ready to make a move. Ryoga holds up the broken watch and announces he's gonna say hi to a fallen entity. Using pure force, he smashes the item onto the altar with everything he's got, completely shattering the timepiece. Immediately, a massive golden light starts leaking from the watch's shards, and that's where it gets crazy. The whole scene shatters, turning into a space full of stars. A giant, sinister Greek-style temple just spawns out of nowhere. Inside, he walks up to a stained glass window and demands to know who's in charge. That heavy voice echoes, pretty annoyed by the lack of respect in its territory. Out of nowhere, a colossal white-bearded entity appears, staring the kid down. But our boy just gives a little smirk, showing zero fear. Full of swagger, he introduces himself and greets Kronos, the dethroned king of the Titans. The massive god glares at his visitor in complete silence and suspicion. Keeping his cool, the kid still holds the shattered pocket watch in his hand. Curious, Kronos calls him little and asks if the boy traveled back in time. Arms wide open, the MC confirms that's exactly what went down. The deity admits regressing takes a ton of power, wanting to know the reason for the show. Then, the kid remembers this is Zeus's dad, the guy who swallowed his own children. He knows Olympus took everything from this god, and the thirst for revenge still burns. Chuckling softly, he drops the bait and asks if Kronos wants to get even. Shocked by the audacity, the giant leans in and demands he repeat that. The offer is clear. He becomes his guardian star. He'll help the Titan get payback. Furious, Kronos questions how a human dares to dream of taking down Olympus. Not backing down, Ryoga grips the watch, flashing the dark ring on his finger. He points out he hit 9 stars all on his own, and Zeus is also in his sights. On top of the Romanovs, all 7 houses are his sworn enemies now. The Titan thinks about wiping Olympus off the earth, yet finds the ambition a bit too small. Even acknowledging the kid's strength, he scoffs at a human asking for his help here. Smiling, the MC explains that since he's also the god of time, things change. Under the system's rules, entities only make contracts with hunters of the same breed. Since the harvest scythe is the same as the reapers, both play with death, making the big guy lose it and tell the kid to stop that wild comparison. The giant completely freaks out, ordering the boy to drop that ridiculous comparison. So much pressure fills the air that the pillars shake hard, almost collapsing. But the kid doesn't even blink, yelling there's no room for hurt pride right now. Challenging the god, he asks if Kronos is just gonna accept living forgotten forever. Ryoga claims he only sought him out because he believed in his drive to cause some damage. He follows up saying the Titan needs to be willing to change his very essence. Staring down the giant, he drops the final invite to crush Olympus together. A sketchy smile creeps onto the god's face, looking like he really digged the idea. With an orb of light in his hand, he admits he never let go of his ancient hatred. He finally embraces the idea of becoming a force against the natural order of life. Energy explodes, and the Titan warns that changing his nature is going to cost a lot of pain. If the human can tank the impact, this revenge partnership is a done deal. Instantly, light takes over the whole temple, shaking the place's very foundation. Caught completely off guard, the MC didn't expect such a violent reaction. Ignoring the boy, Kronos reaches out and declares him as his saint. The MC goes into shock right away, not understanding such a holy title. He knows perfectly well that saints are the supreme and pure avatars of the constellations. Yet his dark necromancer magic heavily clashes with this divine energy. Enduring the pain, he's dead sure passing out now means losing everything. The old god just watches the intense ritual with a completely cold expression. Ryoga can't handle the pressure and drops to his knees, burning from the clashing stats. Desperate, he focuses his mind to the max so he doesn't pass out and lose this golden chance. Time passes and the scene cuts to the kid dragging a suitcase. Fresh off his trip, the boy walks through the lobby like nothing even happened. Super satisfied, he mutters to himself that Japan is the best place in the world. And no one saw that coming. A tiny cute version of Kronos pops up floating next to him. Flying around constantly, the little Titan comments on how cruel and bizarre time is. Right then, the system pings, warning that the Reaper, the rebel giant, showed up in the Pantheon. The MC just was purely bored, since the god can't even give a useful blessing. After all, the guy came back with 0 followers or power, yet still thinks he's all that. Kronos is forced to take on the dark title of Soul Reaper, and since the Titan doesn't have a villain rep, they gotta spread terror the hard way. Crossing his tiny arms, the little creature grumbles that he has the right to be emotional. Perched on the kid's shoulder, the god demands his saint make his name echo across the world. Ryoga knows he became a supreme priest overnight, without dropping his necromancy. The system confirms the White Knight Saint class, buffing spells and removing penalties. He also scores the chance to equip mage and priest gear at the exact same time. Plus, the life drain spell steals vital energy using corrupted power. Mixing holy with death control is something nobody else would ever do. That gives the MC a crazy OP advantage against pretty much anyone. Super proud, the mini-god explains he picked the boy out of pure calculation and cunning. Laughing out loud, the little guy brags about being the ruthless ruler of everything back in the day. Reality hits hard as the MC processes this newly formed crazy partnership. Hyped up, he mentions the old gate nearby will work perfectly for testing things out. Straight to the ancient garden, a glowing forest, he decides to smash some monsters. The gate in question sits right in the middle of a massive city, surrounded by regular buildings. For those who don't know, gates are split between fluid ones that vanish and fixed ones. Since the ancient garden is fixed and super weak, just 1 star, it's ideal for a warm-up. Any newbie hunter can walk in there without fearing a quick beatdown. Seeing people looking for parties, he remembers begging for a squad in his past life. Suddenly, some random guy walks up asking for a moment to chat. The leader of a rookie group invites Ryoga to complete their squad for the raid, but the kid rejects the invite instantly, keeping that unbothered vibe. Feeling a bit awkward, the hunter scratches his neck after getting shut down for free. He pushes back, asking if the MC is completely sure about going into this zone solo. Yet a girl from the group cuts the conversation, telling the guy to drop the annoying topic. Oozing confidence, Ryoga knows fighting solo is going to be pure easy mode at his level. The system screen pings, confirming his grand entrance into the ancient garden map. Trekking through the thick woods, he finds the silence way too sketchy and sinister. Hand already on his weapon, he realizes it's that classic ambush moment. Smirking, Ryoga already picks out who's going to be his first prey. Right then, a weird little monster jumps straight out of the trees at him. He recognizes the goblin pack instantly, with one already charging and full of rage. The goblin tries to land a hit, but the kid stays way too calm. Another one of the same breed lets out a war cry and rushes into the fight. So he decides to test out Life Drain, a corrupted holy spell. Casting the magic on one of the targets, the beast shrieks as it loses all its strength instantly. Our MC quickly figures out that divine energy and shadow power actually mix pretty well. In practice, creepy hands pull all the essence out of the creature with zero mercy, feeling the monster's energy flow straight into his own body. The system screen pings, confirming a clear boost to his base stats, and that's where it gets crazy. Finishing targets with this spell gives permanent stats. Doing some quick math, he realizes dropping 25 guarantees a level up. Looking at a pile of bodies, he calculates that each level bonus adds 5 more to his stats. But it didn't take much for the level up window to flash right in his face. Right beside him, tiny Kronos floats around watching the carnage from the front row. The dwarf god lets out a laugh and asks if the kid is enjoying the new power. Ryoga admits it, praising his partner for the cracked gift. Staring at the fallen target on the ground, he announces the real show starts now. That heavy aura covers the boy as he focuses entirely on his magic. A spark of pure shadow magic hits the remains of the fallen little monster. Smiling with excitement, the MC orders the creature to rise and serve its master. The goblin's hand starts twitching, pushing itself back up off the ground. Seconds later, the whole body obeys the command and gets on its feet. Rising slowly, it's now just a minion made of pure shadow. Standing next to the sinister new henchman, our hero enjoys the result of his first summon. 1 star is the rank of the new shadow minion, now completely ready for combat. The panel alerts that the creation was flawless, almost doubling the beast's original strength. Adjusting his stance, Ryoga claims that's enough to clear out the ancient garden. Just like that, he walks back through the thick woods, followed by his bodyguard. Not long after, 3 more goblins pop up on the path looking for trouble. The macabre duo stares down the new targets, assessing the threat. Crossing his arms, the kid orders his minion to go handle the business alone. It charges full speed at the pack, carrying that terrifying presence. This shadow goon instantly bites right into the neck of one of them. The other 2 freak out completely, and one reacts by attacking the zombie with everything they've got. One of the strikes lands solid, but the undead doesn't even feel the hit. Ryoga mocks them for panicking over hitting a target with 0 weak points. Right then, the boy steps up and grabs one of the little monsters by the throat effortlessly. Activating White Knight, he steals the target's life and enjoys his stats going up again. At the exact same time, the minion delivers a heavy kick to the last one standing. Panic sets in for the survivor as he watches that weird shadow zombie get closer. The whole thing ends fast when the minion attacks and finishes the poor guy off for good. Watching the scene, the boy gets curious if he can siphon magic from those who already fell. He confirms the theory instantly, scoring another crazy round of free stats. Super confident, he announces it's time to put the plan into action. Necromancer legends say making the first target drop is already half the battle. And with the first zombie summoned, the domino effect is ready to start right there. Casting Raise Undead on the rest of the pile, he pulls everyone to his side. After dominating the first body, reviving the rest of the crew becomes pure child's play. The panel quickly confirms that creating the other 4 was a total success. A 98% boost to their stats makes these new servants absolutely busted. Flashing a satisfied smirk, Ryoga watches his gang fully form up. He swears up and down that playing as a necromancer is the most OP thing out there. Seconds later, his evil squad clashes head-on with another pack without mercy. Any resistance vanishes fast when a zombie runs a sword straight through one of their chests. One of the goblins even manages to stab back, but the strike is useless. Pure panic hits when the pierced target doesn't even care and stays standing. The terrifying goblin steps up again and finishes the poor thing off. Disapproving of the show, Kronos demands his partner fight with at least a little class. Shrugging it off, the kid tells the god that this is just how they roll. And wouldn't you know it, the system alerts he hit the cap of 20 goons. In the middle of that pile of defeated targets, he pulls energy to raise the entire squad. The shadow ring flashes bright as the AoE spell fires off all at once. Sure enough, 20 zombies rise from the ground and line up right in front of the MC. Charging all at once, they sweep the map like a true bizarre swarm, quickly wiping out an unlucky group of goblins. The survivors even try to make a run for it, but there's no escaping this crew. Right then, someone hiding in the bushes preps an explosive arrow, taking aim. One of the zombies takes a clean fire arrow hit and drops to the ground instantly. Raising his hand, Ryoga halts his army right away to check out the threat. Glaring at the trees, he demands the meddler show their face right now. Footsteps break the silence as a shadow moves through the nearby leaves. 3 adventurers step out of the brush, with the leader stuttering and asking what he wants. Surprised, the kid realizes exactly who this shaking group is. Digging into his memory, he recalls their squad's nickname, the Twin Shadow Hunters. But it's not a good memory at all, since they were the ones who tried to erase the MC in the past. The system screen flashes instantly, warning that a madness curse just activated there. Yuma and Yuka were very well-known names thanks to their rap as sketchy mercenary hunters. Honestly, they became famous in the future for forming a sinister twin duo. Remembering the trouble they caused, he hears Kronos say they look like total weaklings. This squad is still stuck at a low rank, and, by the looks of it, carrying a third dead weight. The tiny god wants to nip this in the bud, but Ryoga shuts the idea down. Soon the trembling hunter asks if the MC is responsible for this legion of freaks. He quickly figures out people from this era have zero clue what a necromancer is. Playing it super cool, he confirms the whole squad on the ground is his. Everyone in the group takes a step back, spooked by the MC's confession. Thinking fast, the kid realizes he needs pack mules, and these guys are crazy for money. Testing the waters, he proposes a partnership on the spot, leaving the team leaders stunned. 80 for him and 20 for them. That's the cut to follow the master around the map. The offer hangs in the air while the MC calmly waits for the desperate group to decide. Hiding behind a tree, the crew huddles up whispering to figure things out. Yuka begs her brother to bail on this trap of teaming up with a dead summoner. It's pure comedy for our little MC, who yawns and chills waiting for their answer. But while the guys argue about their lives, he's already plotting the next move. Finally, Yuma swallows his pride and yells from afar that the squad agreed to the weird deal. He asks for a raise, pushing for 50-50 since the cash gets split 3 ways over there. Our MC cuts him off fast with 70-30 or nothing, forcing the leader to accept. The third member questions the madness, but gets scolded instantly to stop crying. Yuma realizes the boy entered the gate unarmed, meaning wiping them out would be pretty easy. And just like that, everything changed. He convinces the group that this is their gold mine. Time passes in the forest, and someone's already crying they can't take another step. Dropping to the ground, that crybaby Haibara begs to tap out mid-harvest. Yuka is another one who threw in the towel, completely drained of energy. Now, only Yuma is left standing, staring at the mountain of stones with his wrecked squad. In his head, it was already clear that Ryoga wasn't a normal hunter, but seeing that sea of fallen monsters surpassed any possible expectation. Super chill. The MC points at the targets and lets them know there's more loot left. The team leader stammers a bit and begs for a quick breather. Ignoring their exhaustion, one of the minions keeps crushing another target. Unbothered, the MC points to one more monster getting finished off nearby. He calms the squad down, promising there's no rush and they can take their time. Spooked, the 3 of them start thinking our boy is a real monster. Looking at the cleared map, the necromancer figures the beasts are wiped out in this zone. Right then, he pulls up the system panel to check his stat growth. Strength, agility, and mana skyrocketed after that heavy sweep. In just 3 hours, his total stats went up by 212 points, leaving him with level 4 specs, proving that life drain is way too efficient. As he walks through the woods, our boy decides it's time to take down the boss. The problem is a scout spots the group and lets out a warning scream. Holding a skull staff, some creature mocks the humans invading its turf. Ryoga laughs in the monsters' faces for thinking they run this place. But Yuka ruins the mood, warning that he's the boss and shouldn't be provoked. From the back, the shaman glares with rage and orders them to bring the kid to his knees. Obeying instantly, an armed troop charges and out for blood, and this is where it gets good. He just smiles, sending his zombies to attack with zero mercy. One of the minions immediately jumps onto the arm of the first target in front of it. Desperate, the opponent raises a dagger trying to fight back. The stab lands right on the shoulder, dropping the shadow goon to the ground. Right after, another strike crushes the zombie, lowering the count to 19 servants. Without missing a beat, Ryoga focuses on the body and commands the shadow to rise again. Quickly, the remains on the ground start shaking and reacting to the spell. The target stands up and the panel locks in, 20 active summons instantly. Charging in, this new shadow rushes to crush another soldier from the enemy horde. It becomes super clear that the kid's army has no end and pushes forward without resting. Shocked, Yuma freaks out seeing the boy recycling his own fallen enemies. Watching this humiliation, the boss gets up from his throne completely furious. With pure hate, the beast raises a weird staff and casts an OP spell. The magic plants a totem in the ground, giving a massive morale buff to all allies. Consumed by rage, the creatures go out of control and push for an all-or-nothing strike. Super arrogant, the leader mocks them, thinking he turned the tide with this silly advantage. But the joke ends fast when a zombie rips the piece out of the ground and snaps it with ease. Turning around, the sorcerer can't believe what his own eyes are seeing. Outraged, he yells, asking how a human dares to break his magic like that. In response, a bunch of new totems pop up all around the battlefield. However, one of the shadow goons wounds, crushes another artifact with a clean smack, while the others do the exact same thing, destroying the rest of the villain's strategy. Shaking with hate, the monster leader almost snaps his own weapon from so much anger. Sarcastically, Ryoga laughs in his face and asks if he's a little sad about it. Unable to handle the teasing, the boss raises his sinister scepter for combat. He slams the scepter on the ground, summoning the power. The energy is so heavy that the squad in the back has to take cover. Right then, the enemies get engulfed in a red aura that boosts their power. Powered up, a goblin smashes one of the zombies and the count drops once again. The undead crew starts taking a beating and the number of servants plummets. Quickly, the MC's advantage vanishes, with only 10 goons left on the field now. After a few seconds, only 8 warriors are left standing in all that mess. Assessing the damage, Ryoga figures out that spell was their trump card, realizing instantly that all that strength came straight from the special staff. The boss claims victory and reveals the weapon is made of bones loaded with grudges. Thanks to that free reveal, the MC's smile comes right back, and no one saw that coming. He realizes the boss just dug his own grave. Reaching out his hand, the bone control magic kicks in with full force. Panicking, the sorcerer feels his weapon shaking like it just came to life. The skull staff gets yanked right out of the shaman's hands. Flying perfectly into the MC's grip, the weird item cancels the heavy curse on the spot. Without his main weapon, the scumbag panics and asks what just happened. Since the spell is broken, the enemy horde loses steam and gets 30% weaker. Twirling the stolen item, our boy invites the boss to try defending himself now. A massive skeletal foot stomps hard on the ground, shaking the entire forest. Clearly, the MC is using the staff to summon a monster. Flashing bright, the panel shows that dominating mortal remains is our hero's specialty. Because that weapon was packed with sorrow, the staff spell reacts even faster. Acting super cynical, he tells the crying leader he's going to give the toy back to its owner. He simply throws the staff back like a deadly dart. Completely in shock, the shaman can't even react watching the strike come in. The ancient weapon pierces the beast's neck, tearing through everything at once. Such a heavy impact makes the piece go right through the monster's body, dropping it instantly. Fallen on the ground, the life drain magic triggers automatically. Ryoga looks pretty satisfied with the result. Suddenly, he turns his head to the side with a surprised look. Watching from afar, Yuma's squad still doesn't understand a single thing. Focused on the job, Ryoga uses a bottle to collect the shaman's blood. Staring at the flask, he realizes his technique almost completely drained the villain right there. Super calmly, he tells the team he's leaving the artifacts for them. Yuma looks at the massive pile of fallen targets and almost has a heart attack. Jumping forward, time cuts straight to the modern urban scenery outside. With a steady pace, the kid sneakers step back onto the big city asphalt. Taking a deep breath, he enjoys the feeling of returning to the normal world in one piece. Right behind him, the squad walks by looking like zombies carrying a crazy heavy load in their backpacks. People on the street freak out with envy, thinking it's impossible for a small group to farm that much there. Without beating around the bush, Ryoga tells them to offload the stones at a little local shop. But the leader puts his foot down, saying they can only avoid taking a loss by selling direct. He asks for a vote of confidence, but the necromancer throws it in his face that they barely know each other. The crybaby complains that their effort to carry everything was huge. Sighing, our boy mutters back and says he was just joking around. Relieved, Yuma calculates in his head and guesses the gross profit hits an easy 6 million. The MC grabs the macabre staff out of Yuma's backpack. To make things crazier, he figures the stolen staff is worth even more. The system reveals it to be the Staff of Grudges, a rare rank item unlocked only for priests. This toy buffs magic and can accidentally curse whoever wields it. Honestly, it's a bizarre item, since divine healing doesn't usually mix with shadow magic. In the end, the kid announces he's keeping the weapon, leaving Yuma speechless. The boy explains he just needs to deduct the value when splitting the mission cash, but Yuma refuses the payment, claiming the staff doesn't count towards the group's loot. Looking at his partners, the leader confirms the decision, and everyone coolly agrees. Ryoga gives a side smirk, really enjoying the attitude of that crew. He invites the rookies for another round the next day, and the gang accepts on the spot. The very next day, the whole team crosses the gate and heads straight back to the ancient garden. Our MC just watches his shadow goons crush the monsters across the map. Turning his head, his expression shifts to something much more serious. Down on the ground, he sees the exhausted squad. The team's crybaby begs to stop, saying he already hit his daily limit. Making things worse, his backpack is already bursting from all the loot they picked up. Ryoga Manga gets the message and clears the crew to head home early. Pushing through the woods, the MC leads the troop with Kronos right by his side. The tiny god questions the dismissal, and the boy asks if he made it too obvious. Walking calmly, he confesses he didn't want any witnesses for his next move. Up in the northern part of the map, the scenery changes to a very dense forest near the river. Weird shadows move super fast through the thick vegetation over there. Right after, several creepy eyes glow in the middle of the darkness. Without warning, a bizarre pack of armed giant toads charges right at the hero. Yet the shadow escort doesn't slack off and immediately rushes to block the attack. One of the zombies steps up, sinking its teeth into a beast's arm with zero mercy. The toad looks shocked and screams in pain. Even so, a brave toad lands a spear right into the minion's back. Taking critical damage, the goblin is neutralized and the small army's count drops. That happens again to another servant, dropping the number to 18 on the spot, except the toads show no mercy, crushing the zombie army in a massacre. He realizes that, since toads are way stronger than goblins, the loss is pretty normal. Reaching out his hand, the necromancer uses bone control and throws his own staff. The strike lands a clean hit right in the middle of one of the giant toad's chests, but the panel warns that the creature's oily skin severely cuts down physical damage. Because of this, the monster gives an ugly smile for barely feeling a thing. Clicking his tongue, the kid is not happy at all with the target's annoying defense. Way too fast, he dashes and decides to kick the staff to bury it into the opponent's chest. The impact is brutal, with the weapon sinking deep into the toad. Watching the damage, the boy sees the magic causing double the trouble right there. Right after, the bone control fires off, piercing through the other toads. The staff flies right back to the MC. When everyone is down, the revival spell triggers on the remains of the defeated toad. Instantly, the system pings, cutting another 20% off his vital energy. Wielding the staff's power, the MC summons the energy. Then, the magic explodes on the field and brings all the fallen toads to his side. This macabre new troop lines up in formation, out for blood and ready for combat. Without a second thought, a minion crushes its former buddy's head against the ground. Right then, the holy window flashes, confirming he reached the glorious level 6. Celebrating the fast pace, he knows he'll soon get all his old power back. Focused on the goal, the MC promises to pay back all the humiliation to the Mage King. Further ahead in the ruins, they find a stone altar in the middle of a magic circle. The kid walks around the area holding his stolen weapon, always with the god by his side. Grabbing a frogman's heart that was stashed away, he pulls it from his backpack. Kronos looks confused, but gets shushed right away so he doesn't break the focus. Mixing the heart with the boss blood he kept, the MC tests a theory. At that exact moment, the gross organ starts beating hard with a greenish light around it. The thing starts pulsing weirdly, and he holds on tight while the magic runs wild. He knew this recipe would reveal a secret zone. Sure enough, the panel confirms the ancient garden's secret just unlocked. A teleport warning instantly pulls the MC straight into the proving grounds. Swapping scenery, the arena changes into a gigantic map that reeks of pure ancient danger. Feet on the cracked ground, the hero adjusts his stance, waiting for what's next. Last time around, he was weak and never stepped foot in there, but now the tables have turned. Suddenly, a gate opens right in the middle of the arena. Caught completely off guard, the necromancer turns his head, not understanding a thing. The system drops the heavy rule that this challenge only allows one-on-one combat. This message demands the kid prove all his worth once and for all. Right there, showing no fear, he gives a little smirk, entirely focused on this suicide mission. A colossal beast, looking like a dragon, spawns from the portal, heading straight for the hero. Created by the Pantheon deities themselves, this cruel map exists to test the elite. Turns out the constellations rented out dragon soldiers just to crush rookies. Surviving the beatdown for 10 minutes is the only rule to get out alive, loaded with prizes. Kronos jokes around, guaranteeing the kid won't last 10 seconds in this arena. Almost bailing to hunt for another saint, the cute god gets a quick scolding from the MC. He figures out the system nerfs the monster to level 1, but it still feels intense. Right away, the beast charges in, completely ready to tear off some heads. Except the kid simply raises his hand and calls for a timeout. Asking for time to set up his goons, he leaves the giant dragon standing there looking dumb. The MC turns to his tiny army and casts his power. Weirdly enough, a sinister aura wraps around the toads. Corpse poison and plague blood quickly combine in the exact same cast. That merges the spells perfectly, creating a brand new bloodline, the plague zombies. And no one saw that coming. Any zombie raised now spawns in extreme toxic mode. Kronos looks stunned, remembering the kid was already a cracked 9-star master. Gesturing to bring it on, he invites the beast to start the round with his new squad ready. The big guy roars in pure rage for being made a fool and locks onto the target. Wasting no time, the beast dashes, tearing through the air with killer claws ready. The Suicide Squad leaps forward for the strike. Several minions jump straight onto the giant beast's body in a synced attack. Biting an arm, one of them strikes while another attacks the head. With raw effort, a zombie bites down hard right on the big monster's crown. Fueled by anger, the Draganian starts defending itself by punching the toads. And just like that, everything changed. Landing the punch sets off an enemy poison bomb. The beast sees the poison sticking right to its hand. Smirking at the scene, Ryoga already knows what's going down. Pushing back hard, the monster stomps the ground with enough force to sweep the zombies away. So much brutality in the strike makes the ancient arena's structure shake and crack all over. The massive creature charges at the hero like a runaway train. Chuckling, he praises the beast's thick skin for actually coming at him. Quickly, the MC pulls out Spirit Infusion, creating a defense shield from his staff. Striking hard, the beast slams into the magic block with all its might. Even holding firm, the MC slides backwards, seeing the monster's overwhelming raw strength. From so many heavy hits, the shield starts to crack. Letting out a roar, the beast boils with hate and attacks again. Without wasting any time, the kid throws the staff, activating bone control. The weapon flies like a dart, piercing right through the creature's hand. It screams in pain, feeling the staff tear through. Taking advantage of the opening, the MC sends the rest of the zombies to jump in. Right then, the minions latch onto the wounded monster, fighting it without mercy. Trapped on all sides, the monster gets furious at that shadow swarm. And that's where it gets crazy. It waits 1 second before sweeping everyone away. Throwing heavy punches, the big guy crushes a goon that unleashes the poison. Another quick strike and one more shadow gets destroyed in the middle of the field. With a smile, the MC watches the beast's raw willpower as it fights. Even winning the brawl, the boss drops to its knees gasping for air. Out of nowhere, the bone weapon flies right out of the big guy's hand. The staff flies back to Ryoga, who catches the piece mid-air, walking casually up to the target who can barely stay on its knees. At this moment, the MC raises his hand, ready to deliver the final blow. Our boy casts his power, and the life drain spell kicks in. Down goes the Colossus, and our little MC beats the ancient trial. Kronos praises the strategy, and the kid mocks him, reminding the god he promised to make it out alive. Right after, the screen alerts that he earned the Seal of Resistance. This OP buff cuts cooldowns after taking damage and speeds up magic by 20%. Checking the prize on the panel, he really enjoys the result. The kid looks at the giant's body and points out the real prize is right there. Curious about the plan, the god watches the necromancer guarantee he's gonna forge something even more broken. For this to work, he needs alchemy and remembers a partner from this era. Once the challenge is done, the MC heads back to the city. He stands there staring at a very sketchy 2-story building. In his head, the place looks exactly the same as it did before, but a bizarre explosion at the door catches him completely off guard. Smoke swallows the MC. A guy stumbles out of the rubble, coughing, barely able to breathe. Flashing that smile, Ryoga celebrates finding his target. This soot-covered dude is exactly the legend he was looking for. Actually, it's none other than Shintani Renya, the greatest alchemist and potion master. Begging for a minute, the MC tries to speak, but the scientist demands to know who he is. He introduces himself, saying he wants to use the equipment in there. Renya is stunned by the audacity, and the hero tells him not to make that ugly face. Laughing, he admits that taking things for free would be a jerk move. Then he drops the bomb that he knows all about the secret medium potion research. The scientist panics, wanting to know how the info leaked. Ignoring the despair, the MC walks into the lab and announces he's gonna give the formula a little push. Inside, the owner watches in shock as the invader messes with the flasks. Ryoga grabs the most volatile ingredients and mixes them in the pipette. Expecting an explosion, the alchemist watches the kid stabilize everything in the blink of an eye. Since he knows the future, the MC teases that it would take the guy years to figure this out and asks for a test. Next thing you know, he runs the scalpel over his own arm with zero hesitation. With the cut open, he pours the liquid straight onto the fresh wound. The liquid bubbles and seals the injury instantly like nothing even happened. Flexing his smooth arm, the necromancer shows it off looking like a total winner. Wide-eyed, the scientist is completely surprised that it actually worked. Completely lost, the guy just asks how that became a real success. Watching the kid flex hard on the situation, Renya is completely amazed. To provoke his new partner, the hero lifts the little vial out of his reach. Right then the MC asks if he wants to know the recipe recipe, and the researcher agrees, shaking with excitement. Focused on the prize, the kid demands that genius help with his project first. Seizing the moment, the boy proposes a partnership, offering up secret recipes, 60 for him and 40 for the partner. That's the sacred profit split right there. The alchemist thinks over the deal, even though he doesn't really like it. Oozing confidence, he declares the scientist as his official partner. The kid triggers the ring's power and summons the colossal Draganian corpse right into the room. Annoyed and suspicious, Renya demands to know what that monster is. Acting super chill, the hero reveals his class and announces he's gonna turn the beast into a special corpse. Once the remains are in a tub, our little MC tells his partner to get his hands dirty. Throwing a fit, the scientist says he's not doing a thing without a paper contract. He whines that he's only lending the space, but the boy just ignores him. Ryoga understands all this distrust, knowing perfectly well the guy's rough past. In his past life, Renya's old boss stole all his inventions and kicked him to the curb. Kronos gets philosophical about human betrayal, but the MC reminds him gods are exactly the same breed. Staring at the poor guy, the hero says this hesitation comes from not knowing his power. With that, he hands over a piece of equipment and tells the scientist to watch the magic up close. Suddenly, the coward gets serious, weighing the offer. Having nowhere to run, the genius grabs the item and takes the job. Ryoga immediately drops the heavy order to melt down 5 basic stones to the perfect point. Quickly, the alchemist delivers the material flawlessly, surprising the MC. Smiling, he confirms the guy really is a chemistry monster. He pours the liquid over the beast, prepping his new masterpiece. Using the base potion, he injects pure magic to carve spells right into the beast's bones. Multiple layers of cursed magic are stacked up while the scientist suffers through the work. Repeating the cycle non-stop, Renya almost collapses from pure exhaustion. His hand never stops mixing the recipe's ingredients, putting all his energy into it. Finally, the kid calls it a wrap, just as the corpse starts glowing with a sinister light. The MC stretches casually, while the poor guy points out they spent hours on that. Outraged, the partner swears he isn't a normal human. That cracked strength reanimated a super heavy corpse despite his low rank. Sure, nothing about it made sense for the laws of chemistry, but the result was right there in his face. Turning his head, Ryoga puts the 60-40 deal back on the table. And just like that, everything changed. The nerd doesn't hesitate anymore and locks in the deal for good. The boy double-checks his choice, and the alchemist confesses it would take him years alone. However, alongside this genius kid, his research would skyrocket to another level. Flashing that little smirk, the hero celebrates their new secret alliance. Without dragging it out, he officially makes the partner the exclusive alchemist for his squad. Deep down, the scientist feels they both share the exact same wavelength for making a profit. Their mission now is just finding a soul strong enough to inhabit the dead dragon. Pulling out his phone, he immediately hits up his contact. The MC says thanks for the cash from the last gig and lines up a brand new mission for the source. We cut straight to a super dense forest near the city's border. 3 rookies arrive at the meeting spot wanting to confirm who called them there. Just telling the crew to follow the master, Ryoga heads deep into the woods with them. Walking through the tall grass, one hunter thinks it's crazy to enter a zone packed with beasts. The MC just laughs and says he came to visit an old friend, leaving the crew totally lost. Pushing through the brush, he tries to pinpoint the exact spot for this secret meeting. Right then, the squad follows their leader deep into the heavy woods without asking questions. Heavy footsteps give away a creature getting closer. A colossal orc spawns and holding a massive spear. Panicking, the trio yells at Ryoga to watch out for the 2-star beast. Our little MC sighs, realizing these guys still heavily doubt his skills. To test out his modified magic bone, he decides to use the monster as a dummy. Casting the spell, he enchants the bone piece. The big monster focuses on the attack and doesn't back down a single inch from the danger. Raising its iron spear, it throws all its body weight into a fatal strike. The beast hurls the weapon with insane raw strength to break the magic midair. But the kid laughs, finding the creature's tactic to be a pure, tasteless joke. Syncing up his power, he mocks the monster by saying that attempt was pure trash. Ryoga fires the bone at insane speed, making it clash with the spear and deflect it. Without losing momentum, the projectile hits the orc's chest, dealing terrible damage. Our necromancer praises the beast's thick skin. Even wounded, the brute roars with hate and rips the bone out of its body by pure force. Ignoring the open gash, it locks onto the kid and goes all out. The battle gets heavy with the monster rushing like a tank at the hero. Mid-jump during the strike, Ryoga stands perfectly still, just calculating the exact dodge timing. Except one of the rookies clutches up and raises a magic shield to protect the boss. Praising his partner, the kid really enjoys that quick reflex. With his sinister power ready, the MC immediately lines up a heavy counterattack. He channels his energy for the payback. Traces of power pierce the beast from every possible angle. Unable to handle the hit, the monster gets absolutely bodied. Watching the beast fall, the recruit with the shield stands there in complete shock. He can't believe their leader just soloed a 2-star tank like it was child's play. Announcing the warm-up is over, Ryoga says the real hunt begins now. Confused, the partner asks what he's gonna do with that monster. The MC doesn't answer, while the necromancer magic is already working on the fallen orc's body. Quickly, the beast rises as a zombie ready to follow any command. Dropping the truth, the MC says their main target is in the enemy village. Sadly, he lacks the level to extract the memories and map right out of the servant's head. Either way, he knows clearing out the camp will pull in some massive cash. Looking at the rookies, he drops this wild idea and leaves everyone completely dumbfounded. A few hours later, the late afternoon starts darkening the forest. Following pure carnage, fallen bodies start piling up across the map. Farming hard with a new minion, the hero hits level 13, but the system blocks the gains, warning that his racial stat limit just capped out. Accepting the rule, he gets that infinite farming would just break the game way too much. With the sun fading, the boy announces the clearing shift is done for today. When he turns to give the order, the crew already has the whole camp set up. Our MC digs the fast setup and praises the rookie group's prep work. Laughing it off, one of them reminds him they've been stuck in the woods sweating it out all day. Around the campfire, Ryoga praises everyone's growth and says tomorrow they raid the village. Hyped up over the stat gains, the hunters lock in the plan on the spot. The gang goes to sleep easy, leaving the night watch in their leader's hands. Meanwhile, a pack of orcs was hiding in the bushes, studying the group's every move in the dark. Under the cover of night, 2 big guys sneak out to set up a nasty trap. While this goes down, the trio is dead asleep, having no clue about the danger around them. Our necromancer doesn't slack off, staying wide awake and enjoying the night sky. Loaded with fresh mana, he gives off a sinister aura, completely ready to crush anyone. To study his spells, he opens the panel to access the system's library. The game teleports his mind into a place packed with death grimoires. Walking through the mystic shelves, he pulls out a super thick and heavy book. Except the level lock blocks the advanced pages, hiding all the good secrets. Frustrated, he realizes he's got to read the beginner tutorial just to rank up. Swallowing his pro player pride, he accepts the silly quest and focuses on reading. Right there, the kid dives headfirst into the starter texts for real. Every single line he absorbs refines his cracked control over corpses. His mind boils as he memorizes ancient necromancer tricks. At the break of dawn, the panel alerts that a new technique is unlocked for use. Bright and early, one of the hunters keeps snoring in the makeshift camp. The rookie feels a shadow covering him and wakes up groggy. That poor guy comes face to face with a bizarre skeleton orc drooling right at him. Falling backward, his boss looks at him. Finding it hilarious, he got spooked by their own squad. But the crew notices the orc is gigantic and wearing an armor of pure bone. Flexing hard, the hero says he pulled an all-nighter upgrading their bodyguards. Now the troop turned into armored zombies, true heavy-duty monsters. Combining molding spells, he forged gears straight onto the dead bodies. Super hyped, the boy declares the invasion of the big guy's village is starting. Packing their trash, the gang pushes steadily across the map toward the northern area boss. On the front line, the crew of massive monsters guarantees everyone's safety. Soon enough, they face a heavily guarded solid wood fort. One of the lookouts spots the squad and screams his lungs out, warning about invaders. Instantly, the whole village turns into an anthill of ugly beasts drawing their weapons. The MC puts on a serious face and immediately launches bone control at them, firing off a cursed skeleton spear that slices through the air in the blink of an eye. It hits a soldier's chest, dropping him from the tower instantly. Spinning a knife in his hand, Ryoga calls the weapon right back. And that's where it gets crazy. A giant axe-wielding warrior decides to show up. The Colossus roars, calling the troop to start the carnage. In the back, a battalion of archers already pulls their strings to rain arrows down on them. As that metal flood tears through the sky, death seems certain for the rookie squad. Luckily, the recruit pulls out his holy shield, tanking the full impact of the bombardment. Taking advantage of the opening, the group's hunter aims her magic crossbow at the army. She unleashes a heavy flaming shot right in the face of the enemy front line. Those fire arrows roast one of the shooters, sending him straight to the grave instantly. Kronos gets hyped, and the MC jokes that the squad has a great future in the field. With morale sky high, the adventurer trio pushes forward into direct combat. Unbothered, the necromancer unleashes his guard dogs to do the heavy lifting. The dead giant charges like a tractor with sinister mana overflowing from his body. With one punch, the beast fires a cursed laser that deletes several from the horde. He notices the AoE damage was flawless, making up for every second of that boring reading. There's barely anyone left on the other side, and the living monsters are shaking with fear. Giving that that evil little laugh, he announces the main event is just getting started. Those orcs go for a suicide run trying to break through the kid's bone barrier. Cornered, the zombie tanks hits from every side of the furious pack. One of the orcs lands a strike so hard it cracks the monster's defense. Just like that, the armor gets damaged. Wasting no time, the MC reaches out and activates bone armor. Instantly, the army reacts, taking back control of the situation. He immediately chains the flesh contortion spell. That thing latches onto an enemy's arm right away. More gross pieces sprout out, sticking to the other orcs nearby. Watching from afar, the hunter is completely jaw-dropped by the strategy. To the guy, our boy's magic control is on a ridiculous level. And that's where it gets crazy. The whole ground shakes with heavy footsteps. A gigantic orc cuts through the crowd and slowly walks up to the kid. This is the area boss, gripping a massive axe and foaming with hate. Glaring at the trio, the monster snorts, showing things just got totally serious. Right then, a sinister power takes over the beast's body. Before the fight, Berserk mode activates, warning that the big guy just leveled up. Super cocky, the kid lets him know he was almost dying of boredom. Furious, the boss swings his heavy weapon in a strike meant to destroy everything. The MC doesn't even flinch as the blade tears through the air toward him. Raising his hand, the MC casts bone control completely unfazed. The power shoots straight toward the big guy. The attack lands a clean hit, tearing the beast's body from every angle. Dizzy from the impact, the massive monster drops to its knees, badly hurt. To top it off, another bone pillar comes from behind, throwing it forward. Fighting back, the creature tries to violently pull out one of the spears stuck in it, but the boy hits the brakes, warning he won't let him escape like that. On the panel, an alert shows his mana dropped by 25%. Even so, the orc uses brute force, trying to break free by any means. Full of irony, Ryoka tells the beast not to be sad about the defeat, except the kid's energy has already hit 40% usage. Holding 6 bones drains him fast, so the focus is piercing the heart for good. Laser focused, our hero uses both hands to push the skill. The mana bar plummets, hitting 68% on the limit. Not missing the chance, a brutal spike runs straight through the boss's chest without mercy. Completely pinned to the ground, the big guy gets erased forever in the dirt. The protagonist takes a deep breath, breaking a cold sweat from the close call. Right after he raises his hand and triggers life drain on the spot, the MC absorbs the monster's life, restoring his mana. Renewed, he gives that little smirk, feeling the juice come back to his body. On the other side, one of the goons panics and starts screaming to retreat. That yell is the escape signal, sending the entire troop running, but the MC announces no one is leaving alive, gathering magic in his hands. Using flesh contortion, sick pieces grab the fleeing group's feet. The whole pack trips and falls, completely locked down by the bizarre magic. They struggle in the dust without the slightest chance of getting away. Right then, the kid's undead servant walks up to finish the job. No messing around, the beast crushes the enemies, clearing the battlefield. With the danger gone, the hunter trio starts drooling over the cash those stones are worth. Except our boy is completely focused on the fallen boss's axe on the ground. The system immediately points out the weapon is a rare ranks blood axe. Forged from pure blood and curses, the piece gets more lethal with every bit of damage dealt. Enjoying the weapon's weight, he says the loot alone made the trip worth it, but he immediately tosses the axe to Yuma, leaving all the loot in his hands. The squad takes the job and tells the MC to rest up because he earned it. Moving away from the group a bit, he takes a stroll around the map's edges. Stopping in front of a tree, the guy announces he found his target. Calmly, the MC invites whoever is hiding there to come out for a chat. Nobody answers, and the weird plant stays in complete silence. Out of patience, Ryoga pulls out a hard bone, already tired of all this stalling. Giving an evil smirk, he mutters that if that's how it wants to play, that's fine. With a gleam in his eye, he gets ready to smash the wood by force. Then he smacks the tree with everything he's got, raising a crazy wave of power. That hit forces the entity to burst out, proving that violence actually works. From the shadows, a furious figure spawns, asking who dares to disturb him. Totally calm, our hero drops that he was dying to have this chat with him. The shadow takes shape, and the kid calls out the beast's real name directly, Kashiwagi Sora. That catches the specter completely off guard, asking how he knows the name. Ryoga says it's impossible to forget the guy who held back the chaos in the past. Back in the day, this guy saved Japan, even getting a monument to be remembered. Kashiwagi was the living legend, mixing punches to the face with high-level magic. Hearing the boy, the phantom sighs, thinking his sacrifice was actually worth something. But the MC throws a bucket of cold water, saying not everyone was remembered. When the figure questions him, the kid drops the white dragon's name, Shiraga Narihito. And just like that, everything changed. Rage consumes the shadow, triggering pure hatred. Flashing to the past, the scene cuts to a forest breaking and burning in flames. In pure panic, Kashiwagi screams into the radio, calling for desperate backup. Holding the line, he reminds command that innocent people were in the south area. The guy almost tears his vocal cords on the device, urgently calling for that Shiraga guy. Exhausted, he begs for help, watching the defense line turn to dust right then and there. However, the response he gets is pure cynicism. Support is completely denied. That drops like a bomb, leaving the hero frozen as he tries to process the betrayal. In disbelief, he accuses his boss of using the group as bait to escape through the north route. The scumbag even mocks them, saying thanks to them, the main force escaped intact. Kashiwagi crushes the button, knowing the boss used their goodwill as a shield. Even so, the guy on the radio just tells him to stop the drama in a soft voice. Worse yet, he claims this tragic end guarantees absolute success for those who survive. He ends it by stating the cold rule that only living heroes matter, and the line goes dead. Right then, a huge monster leaps, aiming to tear his head off on the spot. Answering with violence, he draws a dark blade to slash the beast midair. The impact is way too heavy and he gets dragged through the dirt in critical condition. Spitting blood, the guy stays focused on the rescue and orders his team to get the civilians out. The squad even falls back trying to save their partner in a heartbreaking standoff, but the stubborn guy yells, pushing everyone away as his final direct order. Back in the present, the Shadow regrets that the cowardly rat ended up becoming a massive hero, while the poor guy's entire history was swallowed up and erased without a trace. Ryoga adds fuel to the fire, pointing out how ridiculous it is not to hate that injustice. Consumed by a grudge, the Phantom turns into pure rage and tells the MC to spit out what he wants. Without beating around the bush, our boy drops the crazy invite, offering revenge on a silver platter. Silence hits heavy as the beast digests all this madness. Delivering the checkmate, the hero proposes turning the legend into his undead servant. Right then, Du Bois' ring starts cracking as he summons the power. Straight to the point, he points out the draconic body on the ground is the target. The Phantom stares at the carcass in silence, weighing the madness of the offer. Trembling with hate, the entity confesses he hadn't even thought about payback. His only condition to lock in the deal is sparing the lives of the innocent. As long as he doesn't force aggression on any good citizen, loyalty is guaranteed. Flashing that smile, the MC points out that was the exact same demand as before. To him, that proves the old hero's heart is still intact and pure. Right after, Ryoga proposes a handshake and promises to keep his word. The Shadow takes the job, getting ready to enter the carcass on the ground. Taking a more human shape, he walks straight up to the monster. Ryoga recalls that in the other timeline, the legend possessed a skeleton. Even as a simple undead, he became OP, so imagine him tuned up now. When the glow fades, the monster stands up. Standing tall, the servant figures the boss planned out the whole evolution. The beast's status window pops up, showing brutal stats of raw strength and magic. There's even an alert warning that power will spike as the soul stabilizes. Finding it all flawless, the kid notices a brand new detail in this form. The magic fighter talent carried over clean, mixing spells with smooth punches. Curious about the result, he asks if the legend digs the new body. Flexing his muscles, the warrior admits it's a downgrade from when he was alive. In the boss's view, the alert stamps the rank as incomplete supernatural dragon. That status pops up because the body was violently molded with heavy curses. Even so, the MC knows starting out like this is millions of times better. Wasting no time, Ryoga turns his back, calling his ally to bounce. But the beast shuts that down instantly, calling his own master a lackey. The kid freezes in confusion, while the beast crosses his arms, making demands. Questioning the attitude, he finds out the big guy hates being a pushover. Then our MC asks about his old name, but the legend already buried the past. Letting out a heavy sigh, the MC notices the crazy attitude shift in him. Demanding as ever, the massive servant wants a scary title but is out of ideas. Ryoga suggests Fafnir, except the annoying guy rejects it for sounding cliché. Poking fun, the hero throws out, Great Serpent. The dragon shakes his head, holding back the urge to smash the boss's face. Thinking it over, the beast swallows his pride and adopts the title Fafnir. With the contract sealed, the hero stamps the baptism and tells him to walk already. Except Fafnir freezes out of nowhere, yelling in outrage because he's totally naked. Desperate over the nudity, the monster hunts for any rag to cover up. The beast spots a tent and grabs the fabric to cover himself without overthinking. Tying the junk around his waist, he lets out a sigh, thinking the look is decent. With his shame covered, the duel heads out straight through the flames. Ryoga is still trying to figure out if this was the hero's real vibe all along. Cutting to the lab, Shintani gets the scare of his life seeing the new partner. Jaw dropped, the alchemist can't believe the tank's carcass actually walked. The crazy researcher tries to get close while the kid explains what he pulled off. That pisses off the big guy who asks to punch him, but the MC blocks the hit. Ryoga grabs his attention, focusing the alchemist's mind on the reality of the cache. Earlier, he agreed to meet the gate crew to sort out the loot. Back at the hideout, the necromancer energy glows on the MC's finger. The magic summons the chalked up carcass of the fallen orc boss in the dust. Crouched down, the hero studies what to rip out of there while the genius watches, amazed. Fafnir watches the show and immediately asks what the next crazy move is. Throwing a side glance, the kid teases asking if the alchemist is down for it. Terrified, the coward lies saying no, traumatized by the hardcore tests. But his sickness for science hits harder, forcing his hand right back to the cauldron. In the scientist's head, that kid's inventions break every bit of logic. Next, the master bluntly announces he's gonna cast the dark spell Flesh Separation. The spell melts down the matter, leaving only the pure bone base on the ground. Kronos pops up curious about the minions, hearing that an army is needed. Quickly, the body turns into nothing but bone. Being helpful, Shintani passes over a special extract to tune up the toy. Pouring the extract over it, the game confirms the spice stabilized the beast. To seal the deal, the undead is born specializing as a heavy defense tank. The kid smiles calmly, feeling like he's finally got a respectable shield. Mystically, the bones stand up. The skeleton now wields 2 shields under the name Skeleton Guard. Ryoga locks in the basic rule of staying protected while casting Life Drain. Confirming the command, the silent guard nods, agreeing with the order. Curious, the scientist questions the swap and hears the excuse that bones last longer. Besides, close-range healing leaves the kid's back totally exposed. In the researcher's mind, this cold, long-term planning is downright scary. Turning his back, Ryoga leaves the skeleton right there, saying he needs to bounce. Shock hits hard as he questions what place is even open this late at night. Super chill, the MC confesses he's heading to the Pantheon for a divine spell. That sentence alone throws the alchemist's brain into a massive short circuit. Yelling loud, Shintani demands details on why he's using holy power. By that crazy logic, the necromancer legend would actually be a real priest, and the legend completely ignores his solo freakout. Being super funny, Kronos jokes around, calling the master an enlightened devotee. The scream of disbelief echoes from the street while the kid just brushes off the teasing. To dodge the topic, he flips the conversation, asking about the potion patent. Stunned, the scientist guarantees he threw the thing in the queue and it'll blow up soon. Time flies in the market and the guy doesn't want to give industry rivals any openings. What's jamming the machine right now is lacking a booth for proper advertising. Getting the picture, our hero takes on the responsibility of spreading the cure. Relieved by the answer, the partner passes the load, leaving the responsibility with him. Staring at the full vial, dollar signs flash in his eyes, imagining how much he'll make from this. At the end of the day, all that hero talk drops because money speaks louder. Completely in shock, Shintani is dead sure there's zero holiness in him. The scene cuts to the Pantheon standing tall in the dark with a terrifyingly imposing look. Inside, the vibe is a letdown, looking like a cheap shop trading power for gold, going hard on the constellations. Kronos accuses the clique of being mercenaries. Calmly, the MC walks across the clean floor, listening to the fairy mock the gods for being cheap. The kid just sighs heavily, feeling the exhaustion hit hard from the journey. Tired of the stroll, Ryoga comes face to face with the worst stairs in the universe right there. According to the sign, the infamous path to the gods has a cruel 108 flights. Floating mid-air, the fairy praises the rude's humility while the boy complains non-stop. When the doubt about the distance drops, Kronos says they're only halfway up the absurd slope, meaning the heavy torture isn't even close to the promised final floor at the top. Exhausted, the protagonist swears to destroy everything if the chest at the top is just a fake illusion. Finally, he hits the top of that massive staircase. The hall up there has a ceiling reflecting the starry sky. He barely catches his breath and the panel is already popping off with notifications. Right on the screen, he who prospers openly shows his disgust. Reading the second one, the Shroud of Death glares at the kid suspiciously. And to make things worse, the Lord of Abyss absolutely hates his presence too. The floating dwarf bursts out laughing at the situation but gets shoved aside real quick. Instantly, the fairy inflates to a giant size, demanding his turn. Full of swagger, the beast stares at the stars, getting ready for the show. The cosmic entity simply touches a star with his finger. Right then, the game registers the giant who opposes heaven in the Pantheon. Ryoga focuses on the details of his new skills on the screen. The first buff gathers shadow power to tune up whoever receives the magic, while the second stacks damage to return the favor, but locks onto a single target. Turning to the boy, the titan brags about his gifts, and the kid gives it a thumbs up, super full of himself. The giant laughs loud, swearing his greatness just shined through. But the panel kills his vibe, warning that he lacks divine authority. Basically, he needs more fame and followers to actually shine out there. The alert points out his light is way too weak to pull in any believers today. Mocking the whole thing, the hero jokes around while the fairy calls it all trash. To him, all that really matters is that the powers help him get stronger. Later on, the kid walks alone through the dark city streets. He goes with the flow, keeping a straight face and totally locked in his own thoughts. Out of nowhere, a voice strikes up a conversation, questioning why he's leaving the temple there. A ripped blonde hunter blocks the way and drops a greeting. Completely lost, Ryoga asks straight to his face who the crazy guy is. Satake flashes a wide smile, bringing up the rough days back at their orphanage. It hits him, and the boy instantly recognizes the cowardly bully from his past. Flashing back, the scene focuses on some heavy bullying going down in a room. Back then, the guy grabbed a kid, accusing him of being the snitch of the place. Except the MC's response was a solid punch right to the jerk's nose. Snapping back to the present, Ryoga casually asks if the bone ever set right. The guy grinds his teeth, boiling with pure hate for our hero. But suddenly he hides the anger, remembering he's got to show off his gear. Super proud, he points right to the expensive pin attached to his clothes. Flexing the Aragiri emblem, the bully announces he joined the guild, believing he's terrifying. He warns that things change now that he's a hunter. Completely unbothered, the MC fires back saying nothing actually changed at all. Satak starts boiling inside again, and calls the kid an arrogant brat. Raising his hand for a punch, he tells the guy to lower his tone, when suddenly someone grabs the bully's arm. The other guy blocks his hand, warning him the street isn't a fighting ring. Whining like a baby, the blonde tries to explain his freakout to his own boss. The captain, named Jaemon, proposes settling the drama in an official duel. Behind that calm face, the boss already judges the kid as a clueless, arrogant brat. Turning to his subordinate, he suggests settling the beef with fists. Satake chuckles, betting the rookie barely even became a proper hunter yet. Surprising both of them, Ryoga accepts the invite to absolutely body him right then and there. The bully freezes in his stance, not understanding all this sudden courage. With a side smirk, the kid drops some bait, asking if he's feeling a little scared. That fries the aggressor's brain, swearing he'll make him swallow his words. Straight to the guild's HQ, the vibe gets really heated in the training hall. The two square up in the center of the arena under the captain's watchful eyes. Messing with him, Ryoga throws Fafnir into fight as a priest. The guy actually praises the summon, but immediately brags about his rings and buffs. Way too cocky. He guarantees this new minion isn't even worth his time. The arena's magic floor glows, lighting up the safe combat zone. Acting all tough, the blonde checks the panel, scanning everyone's shields. The safety rule promises to stop the fight if anyone is in actual danger, and without dragging it out, the system pings, clearing them for a free-for-all brawl. Gripping his spear, Satake mocks him, swearing his rival is already dying of fear. Looking bored to death, the MC plays dumb, thinking his enemy is completely crazy. Mentally, the dragon enjoys the irony of running into the rival guild like this. To him, this fight is a blessing, the perfect test for his new muscles. Clenching his fists, the beast announces the enemy isn't getting a break, but the master holds the leash, asking him not to erase the guy with a single slap. Fafnir snorts, reminding him that not breaking the opponent is almost impossible. Full of himself, the blonde rushes in for the first strike, yelling, he's gonna show who's boss. The guy pierces the air, throwing the spear's tip straight at the summon's chest. Without blinking, Fafnir dodges the attack with a quick move, making the weapon's tip smash the ground, triggering reflex. Step. The coward attempts a technique that's actually a bit surprising. In the blink of an eye, he dodges and ends up right behind the big guy. And that's where it gets crazy. Already readies his spear without losing a second. Joman approves of the minion's stance, but the dragon finds that sluggish speed ridiculous. An aura of death wraps around the creature's hand with a glow of pure darkness, and with a snap of his fingers, the beast locks onto the weapon's shaft, canceling the entire attack. Breaking a cold sweat, the blonde realizes the pressure paralyzed every bone in his body. Finding it totally pathetic, the legend mocks him for not calculating the consequences. He winds up a punch, swearing that in real life, this was game over. However, the servant's mind remembers the annoying order to spare the opponent there. To avoid killing him, Fafnir just gives a little tap on the shoulders. But even so, the strike hits way too hard for the blonde. A pathetic scream echoes through the whole room thanks to the dry thud of the hit. Crawling in the dust, the jerk hears Ryoga bring up his broken nose from the past. Acting sarcastic, the boy congratulates his massive evolution for only screaming for a second today. Hate burns deep in the coward as he gets up, cursing the MC out with everything he's got. He resets his stance, while the dynamic duo just casually watches. Doubling down on his mistake, the guy charges and tearing through the air again without thinking. Fafnir stops the attack, putting all his strength into a single stomp. Stepping so hard he literally cracks the arena floor. Freaked out, Satake tries to block, but the level difference completely crushes any stance. Poking fun, the legend explains that repeating an attack is just begging to die right there. The vacuum throws him far away. From that little joke, the idiot's knee turns to dust, followed by a cry for help. Completely terrified, it finally hits him that the massacre just wrapped up. Fafnir locks in that there's no way out now. He raises his hand, ready to deliver the final blow. The crazy guy spills sweat and tears, swearing his life is about to end. Luckily, the captain yells out, calling a timeout on the pure violence, ruining the duo's fun. The boss steps right in the middle with a totally sour face. Smirking, Ryoga finds the ref's rush to end everything hilarious. The panel pings right away, declaring the end of that embarrassing match. Everything there turned to dust, revealing the loser dumped on the cracked floor. Jomon helps the jerk, promising to call a healer fast, but the MC kills the vibe, announcing that healing is already guaranteed right there. In disbelief, the captain warns that one-star magic doesn't fix bones. He then questions the kid's sanity over that crazy promise. Pulling a vial from his pocket, Ryoga announces the use of a medium-level potion. The bully panics, yelling that the item costs a fortune on the market. Outraged, the poor guy refuses the charity, ignoring the drama. The MC pours the potion over him, celebrating the free showcase. This moment is perfect to test the product live right there on the spot. Dripping onto the crushed bone, the red liquid makes the magic happen instantly. The guild boss is floored, watching the whole knee fix itself. Mentally, the captain already calculates how absurd it would be to get his hands on that. The boy just gives that smile of someone who hooked a big fish. Wasting no time, Jomon steps up, wanting to know where that flask came from. He cheers inside, confirming the bait was swallowed successfully. Next, the protagonist questions if the guy's title guarantees a 3-star rank, and to close the trap, drops the challenge to tell the secret if they throw down. Tempted by the prize, the boss accepts the duel, demanding the truth at the end of it all. The kid thinks it's great, joking that the previous warm-up didn't even make him sweat. Face to face in the broken arena, the mood gets heavy for a serious fight. As soon as the gong hits, the leader tears through space right at the legend. Unleashing sharp attack, he rains blades right into the dragon's chest. Deep down, the guy actually respects the absurd defense the beast showed earlier, except his logic is that such a heavy beast won't handle all that pressure. Jomon notices the beast's barrier is melting. Flying through the air, Jomon attempts a lethal strike, trying to close the casket. Ryoga watches it all totally chill, confirming his own theory. That bulky body isn't built for the quick dodges the hero loved in the past. That's exactly why the potion served as bait, forcing this duel to calibrate the guy. The plan is flawless, and a greedy smile pops up on the protagonist's face. Feeling the weight, Fafnir decides to forget speed and focus on the weight of his own punch. Full of pride, the kid is hyped seeing his new toy adapt to the impact. And not to be left out, the MC says he's gonna give a little push. The sinister magic leaks from his hand, swallowing the beast in brutal pressure. Right after, the profane buff pings on the screen, boosting the legend's stats by 20%. The MC gets ready to launch the attack. The spell hits hard, breaking Jomon's legs. The guy's body locks up instantly with an absurd weight crushing his back. This twisted blessing drops the guy's power by 10% into total weakness. Completely terrified, the boss heavily doubts this rookie hunter talk. Floating midair, Kronos begs for praise over the magic and gets shut down, being called basic. Pissed off, the god starts complaining, but Ryoga tells him to shut up mid-fight. Grinning wide, the protagonist already chains the next phase of the humiliation. He uses Retribution Wedge, which stores all the damage taken to return it double. Completely armored up, the beast breathes the pure juice of death, becoming an absolute tank. The final order is to crush without mercy in the ring. To the legend's joy, this free pass for violence was everything he dreamed of right now. Slicing the wind, Jomon goes all out while the system gathers the power of revenge. Even weakened, the guy thinks he's way too experienced to fall. The mystery is how some random minion takes the pressure of a rank 3 without blinking. On the other side, the huge monster forgets about agility completely and focuses on raw physical ignorance. Being an undead means ignoring pain, opening the path for limitless brutality. The beast crosses its arms, tanking the hit on purpose. With a clear path, the legend winds up a hook, aiming straight for the opponent's face. Pulling out the classic technique, the beast's punch breaks the defense, hitting the guy's arm. Even blocking the attack, Jomon can't handle it and ends up flying across the arena. The poor guy flies and cracks the floor on the impact of the embarrassing fall. He hits the ground completely disoriented. One more scratch like that and it's a wrap, sending him to the grave on the spot. Trembling with hate, the veteran rejects the dark stain of losing to a rookie. His mind spins fast, plotting the tactic to jump the beast and focus on the weak master. Ignoring the monster, he lunges, tearing through the dust straight for our hero's neck. The distance closes to 0, but the kid doesn't even blink, keeping that scary aura of peace. Face to face with danger, the blade shines, aimed straight for the heart. Ryoga watches the tip of death get closer without lifting a finger to defend himself. Cynically, he already counted on that exact desperate charge from the start. With a dry snap of his fingers, the loaded retribution returns all the stack damage. The impact is ridiculous, frying his health. And sure enough, Jumon drops unconscious in the arena. Far away, the main Aragiri tower glows, tearing through the night sky. In an office dripping with luxury and wealth, silence rules the top of their power. The gold nameplate on the desk screams the name of the big boss, Submaster Narihito. He questions if the potion rumor is actually real. All bruised up from the beatdown, Jumon nods, swallowing that humiliation dry. The big boss glares, wanting to know if that miracle cure was really tested. Choking back tears, the loser reports the quality matched up with rare items. Unable to hide it, the memory of the humiliating beatdown still crushes his ego right there. Quickly, the guy shrinks his shoulders, begging for forgiveness for dragging the group's name through the mud. The defeated guy tries to quit, but Narihito gives a cold laugh, cutting down the annoying drama. In the loser's head, getting beat by a nobody sank the squad's whole reputation. But the boss loses his patience, dropping the reality that a weak soldier doesn't change the focus. Stuttering in shock, the poor guy tries to fix his words and gets told to shut up. Immediately, the sentence drops, cutting his position and tossing the poor guy in the trash. He orders the secretary to track everything back to the production of the magic potion. Focused on the replay of the fight, the villain can't swallow the fact that a legend lost to a minion. The rumor says Ryoga is a priest, leaving it up in the air if that massive monster wasn't a divine beast. With zero time for mistakes, he immediately puts the MC's name on the entire guild's blacklist. Confirming everything, the woman notes down the targets under that boss's cold, calculating gaze. Meanwhile, our hero enjoys the success, believing the bid shots are already freaking out. The beast crosses his arms, demanding attention for a very weird thing in his hand. Holding a manual, the creature wants to know what the deal with the book is. Ryoga drops the truth that, since the legend is the king of brawling, becoming his student is the plan. Annoyed by the extra work, the servant tries to fish for the real reason behind this new weapon. Right then, a memory brings back the old bully's face using the spear strikes in the arena. The dragon scolds that everyone targets the MC because his weak face attracts punches. Messing with him, the beast jokes that his arm is bigger than the boss's and tells him to lift more iron. Thanks to that joke, our little MC triggers the threatening glare, not finding it funny in the slightest. Raising his arm against his will, Fafnir gets super confused. Out of nowhere, he smacks his own head, but it's actually the MC controlling him. Gripping the spear, the servant announces he devoured the book and is gonna train his own master. He tosses the manual away, telling the kid to cram that info into his head real quick. Ryoga catches the item mid-air super calmly and focuses on the magic reading. On the screen, the Viridian-style basic spear pops up, super easy for newbies to learn. Looking ahead, the MC plans to chain the death spiral right after this. This is the ultimate technique of a famous hunter that would take years to master normally, planning to abuse this cracked advantage without an ounce of mercy, so the game downloads the full overview of the strike straight into his mind. Insanely enough, these books teach all 6 forms of the move in a single magic snap. Full of himself, the dragon brags that teaching is his thing and immediately pulls a monstrous strike. Our hero watches in surprise, analyzing the weight of every little detail in that attack. With a quick leap, the beast explains you only learn to fight by breaking things in practice. Right after, the spear completely wrecks the arena floor with a brutal dry crash. Through the dust, Fafnir throws himself at the MC, but he dodges. He just stands there in the middle of the chaos, holding his weapon tight. The big guy praises the MC's dodge, admitting the kid actually has good reflexes, but making things worse, running away doesn't help anyone master the weight of a real blade. Annoyed, the kid reminds him he's a rookie and anyone would dodge a heavy hit like that. Joking around, Ryoga asks if this is payback, yet the beast swears it's pure teaching. Soon the mood gets heavy, and the beast asks if the boss is gonna cry just for being a newbie. The monster pushes forward with no mercy, forcing the hero to raise his guard again for the impact. With pure drive, the protagonist calls for a one-on-one brawl, facing the challenge head-on. The system confirms the third form of the technique, triggering the rotational guard perfectly, and with a loud crack, the enemy blade clashes right into his block. Confident, he swears he'd tank the worst of it and preps to strike back. But Fafnir slips past the defense with a monstrous pressure. Brute force pushes the kid backward, landing a clean hit right on his chest. Such violence is intense, tearing a cry of pain straight from the boy. Dizzy from the blow, he grabs his chest, gasping for air in pure pain. Playing the teacher Fafnir tells him to focus on the fight because taking a hit is part of the game. Gasping for air, the hero gets frustrated thinking he had blocked that attack perfectly. The servant corrects the mistake, warning that blocking the first strike doesn't stop the counter. Ryoga blames the beast's raw strength but hears that their stats are actually matched up. Swallowing his pride, the MC swears he learned his lesson and won't embarrass himself now. To play it safe, he triggers Life Drain to heal up and buff his own body. Right after he chains the fourth spear form, pulling out the famous Shaft Strike. The dragon's charge shows no mercy, and the metals clash, causing a massive impact. Thinking he tanked the whole shock, the kid stands up to strike back and gets a nasty surprise. That beast just runs him over like a truck, completely ignoring his rookie stance. Dropped in the dust, the protagonist kisses the dirt, not knowing what truck just hit him. Fafnir clowns him, saying he focused on step 2 and completely forgot his basic defense. Taking the L, he breezes through the active healing and asks for one more round. Hyped up, the legend demands good posture and gets ready to beat the kid down again. Ryoga clenches his jaw, prepping himself to tank the incoming damage. Focused on that, the brawl goes completely wild in this heavy training session. After that brutal beatdown, we find our hero chilling in a busy restaurant. The smell of a hot grill frying up fatty meat fills the entire place. Suddenly, a friend looks at the kid and asks what happened to his face. With his black eye throbbing, the boy gets awkward trying to come up with an excuse. Hiding his embarrassment, he just says life hit hard today, making his buddy hold back a laugh. Through the ring, Fafnir laughs at the kid's willpower for not passing out after getting totally bodied. Silently, Ryoga figures the monster loved having an excuse to beat up his own boss. He cuts the chat short, saying that quitting early isn't part of the current plan. Mentally, he concludes that endless healing is the perfect buff for his raw strength. Boosting stats like crazy without any technique is honestly just a waste of time and energy. The plan to master the spear using his new body is going to push him to god tier real soon. Seeing that maniac face, the informant admits he's kind of scared of him acting like that. Soon the topic flips to money, and the guy says thanks for the 15 million from their deal. With no time to waste, the hero asks for the latest hot gossip on the active gates. The informant lets him know his girlfriend Hibara scrubs the hunter net 24/7. They bring up the dark serial murders, but that won't help him level up fast at all. Knowing how it goes, he remembers the past global disaster and just wants something small and profitable. Out of nowhere, the partner mentions the Forgotten Temple, a famous gate over in Wakayama. That catches him off guard since he thought the squads had already cleared that zone out. But the Horizon Guild has been taking a beating for months, and the place could break any minute. The guild's trash tactic is just farming whatever spawns without ever pushing for the boss. When the mana pressure hits 100%, the streets are gonna turn into pure monster hell. Our MC connects the dots, realizing they're dealing with a super dangerous fluid gate. Desperate about the danger, the gate bosses open it up for the general public, and the rumors pull in the big shots from Phoenix and Daybreak, all gunning for the zone's title. This is where it gets good. His eyes light up remembering the epic dragon scale armor. Knowing that prize is just sitting there rotting fills the kid's greedy heart with joy. He drops an evil smirk, planning to test out his new spear right on those monsters' backs. In a flash, he tells his buddy to call the squad and set up a meeting spot bright and early. At the crack of dawn the next day, the crew parks right in front of the energy portal statues. The panel ranks the rift at 2 stars, already boiling over at 93%. Complaining out loud, the kid's teammate stares at the massive anthill of people camping in the area. The rookie points out that this opportunity pulled in vultures from all over the country hunting that juicy reward. Thinking about setting up a tent, they get scolded by their leader who demands they dive right in. The hunter girl freaks out because their food only lasts 5 days in a spot people have been struggling with for months. Full of swagger, the MC declares that 5 days is more than enough to wipe out everything with zero mercy. Right then, one of the members grabs the group's attention, pointing out a famous face in the crowd. Walking by looking totally badass, Asaka Mere steals the show as Japan's future sword saint. In his past life, this exact girl was the one who found the route to the epic prize he wants. Known as an absolute genius, her tragic fate back then was losing everything in an accident. In another direction, the partner points out yet another living legend walking around, sporting a super bored face. The protagonist sighs, wanting to know what the fuss is about now. Way over there is Goda, a huge ripped guy walking around as a hunter for the Daybreak Guild. To the kid, this guy is a familiar face who's going to become the nation's Iron Fist. Practically the entire top 10 of the future decided to show up at this massive guild party. Trembling with fear, the team dreads having to compete with so many legends in one spot. But Ryoga just tells the group to chill out and focus on their own goal without watching everyone else. Blinded by the epic artifact, the kid pushes forward with pure bloodlust to dominate that temple. He steps hard toward the portal, dragging dragging his scared teammates right behind him. The game pings their entrance into the dungeon, and the ancient ruin appears. Without any hesitation, the necromancer triggers his ring, letting his pet monster off the leash. Carrying a terrifying calm, Fafnir's shadow spawns in, covering the group leader's back. An absurd smell of death takes over the hall as the beast gets ready to work. One of the partners shakes in fear, calling the kid's necromancy straight up bizarre. Even the hunter girl admits she's terrified of becoming one of his zombies down the line. Annoyed by the drama, Ryoga tells the squad to cut the nonsense and focus up. Fafnir jokes around, saying with their weak stats they'd only make trash-tier minions. To kill the chatter, the MC orders everyone to keep their eyes on the real prize. Suddenly, the entire floor shakes hard, making the temple pillars wobble and crash down. Those massive structures plummet, completely smashing the ground below. Freaking out, the crew watches as the dragon wonders if the place is gonna hold up. Quickly, the girl explains that this chaotic mechanic bumps the zone up to 3 stars. By the rules of this gate, the map and the monsters swap locations every single day. Mentally, the hero connects the dots, remembering it was exactly like this in his past life. He nods at the girl while Fafnir's buffs just trigger all on their own. Playing the human shield, the big guy gets scolded by his boss who demands real results. The massive stone blocks of the maze actually start shifting around. Stepping up to the front, the legend warns the squad about something heavy coming their way. Out of nowhere, a freaky leg covered in scars and claws steps into view. This ugly beast turns out to be a giant cultist rocking a horned skull mask. Taking one look, the kid instantly recognizes it as a fallen cultist. Roaring with rage, the beast tears through the hall with hate in its eyes and charges right at them. Without backing down, Fafnir clashes with the psycho in a hit so hard it kicks up a dust cloud. The cowardly teammate freaks out, screaming that this enemy mob is way too tough. But the legend completely ignores the warning, palming the monster's face with a single hand. With a quick foot sweep, he hooks the monster's leg in a brutal takedown. That massive cultist loses his balance, slamming into the ground without a chance to fight back. Effortlessly, the legend pins the enemy's body right down on the cold stone. A solid dry punch sends the beast to the grave with a nasty snap. Watching that beatdown, the scared ally's jaw practically hits the floor in shock. Super smug, the lizard man flashes a smile to brag about that clean victory. Yet Ryoga scolds him on the spot, warning that smashing the body ruins his future zombie. With zero time to chill, another sinister horde spawns straight out of the shadows up ahead. The massive servant groans, complaining about this endless anthill of annoying mobs. Resting the staff on his shoulder, the hero announces he's taking over this round. The system panel chimes for the Staff of Grudges buff, slicing his mana cost by 12%. Casting Bone Control, huge bone spears rip through the air and skewer the monsters. That chain damage drops the entire pack in one masterclass strike. It skewers them clean through, proving just how cracked his magic really is. In Fury, mixing holy and shadow magic completely shatters the enemy's base defense on the spot. Suddenly, the debuff kicks in, leaving the cultists moving in slow motion amidst the chaos. Fafnir doesn't fully grasp the advantage, but he charges in to crush them anyway. Throwing hands, the servant realizes that intense training seriously leveled up his aggression. With a brutal punch, the big guy completely caves in the enemy lines to clear a path. Soon enough, there's nothing left but dust on the floor. Catching himself, the kid remembers to trigger Life Drain on that entire messy pile. Furious, Fafnir demands some respect, pointing out that magic only worked because of his heavy lifting. The massive beast crosses his arms, looking super bummed about not getting a single compliment. With a highly annoyed look, Ryoga admits he really misses the quiet warrior from back in the day. And just like that, everything changed. The screen stamps level 20, flooding his mind with brand new memories. 2 new skills pop up to cut down the mana drain from running his heavy squad. Based on the kid's math, that extra mana is going to easily carry the squad to the next 5 days. Ruthlessly, he taps his staff on the ground to call up another corpse for the front line. 2 armored zombies climb right out of the floor looking for a fight. Instantly, the creation buff doubles their health bars the second they spawn in. Yuma guesses the cultist gave all that XP, but the boss explains the spell mastery matters way more. Completely lost, the guy asks him to dumb down that necromancy lesson. In simple terms, the leader explains that raw stats don't really flip the scoreboard that much. The real goal right now is to speed run their way to the bottom of this giant maze. Another heavy rumble warns the squad that the walls are shifting around for real this time. Ignoring the earthquake, Fafnir just hands out heavy punches to the new waves of monsters spawning in. At the back, the squad's tank holds his shield up to block any sketchy incoming charges. Next, the mage fires off her magic crossbow to wipe those cultists straight off the map. To wrap it up, the undead troop easily slices through the stragglers across the maze. Stressed out, Ryoga swears this endless army of mobs is getting way too annoying. things get sketchy when the floor shakes again, spinning the walls right in front of their faces. In pure panic, an ally begs for a tactical retreat, seeing the whole zone collapse around them. Keeping his cool, the kid shuts down the escape plan by digging into his past memories. Flashing back, he remembers the famous interview with the prodigy Mirai from his old timeline. In that video, the hunter dropped the secret on how to break the temple's infinite curse. Back then, the legend revealed the trick was locking onto one very specific route. The hunter had to farm exact tokens that only dropped from specific rare mobs, gathering 49 of those coins and slotting them right into the zone's main pillar. The boss room unlocks, and the hero spots a giant eye on the wall, acting as the perfect clue. With another massive tremor, the pillars crack wide open to announce the real danger is here. Way up high, a sphere of pure evil energy spawns and starts dropping right toward them. The black smoke slowly thickens, taking on a truly terrifying shape. Man, the thick fog parts to reveal a completely bizarre tentacled demonic eye. Analyzing the threat, the MC realizes the pillar's little clue wasn't joking around. That giant eye starts glowing red, charging up some heavy destructive power. Without any warning, a beam of pure destruction fires off, sweeping straight down at the crew. Solid as a rock, our hero doesn't even blink, watching that massive attack fly in. Pulling out a bone claw, he smirks and brags that he knows every single trick this thing has. The laser's heavy impact smashes right into the kid's magic barrier. It somehow manages to completely tank the burning beam. Cracking under the pressure, the wall groans but holds the line like an absolute tank. His magic survives the hit intact, keeping the boy heavily shielded from the blast. Super confident, he swears his cursed bone won't fold to some rookie laser beam. Not backing down, the flying beast charges up even more power to crack that defense. Instantly, another lethal beam tears through the room, trying to melt the necromancer's face off. Completely shocked, the rookie teammate panics, seeing the monster push the attack so hard. Without moving an inch, the boss just stares back, looking totally unbothered by the whole thing. Faster than lightning, Fafnir leaps right into the line of fire, tanking the shot to his chest. With his guard wide open, he tells his boss that he's got this one handled. That absurdly hot beam slams right into his scaly chest, but he swallows the whole impact. Clearing the smoke, the legend stands there looking perfectly fine without dropping a single point of HP. His feet stay completely planted in the dirt, never taking a single step back. Proud of his own tanking skills, the beast thumps his chest, laughing that the blast barely tickled. Ryoga jokes back, reminding him that custom-built dragon body can tank way worse than that. With a massive grin, the dragon agrees, feeling all that raw power coursing through him. Completely terrified, the floating eye shakes, watching the massive beast announce playtime is over. Like a runaway freight train, Fafnir charges ahead, striking absolute terror into the creature. Racking things up, the legend completely squashes the eyeball mob with a single heavy punch. The dragon asks if the beast becomes a lackey, but Ryoga points out the eyes would be totally useless. Finding the idea gross, the beast learns that those eyeballs are actually the dungeon's keys. At that moment, the temple shakes hard and the walls shift around, creating a brand new maze. Up ahead, a weird monster wearing a white mask drops from the ceiling, blocking the path. This monster rocks a macabre smile, throwing pure terror into the whole squad right there. Revealing its full body, the bizarre shadow stands ready to cause some serious trouble. Yuma thinks it looks freaky, while the leader confirms it's a mask to mimic. Without warning, the beast unleashes the rot curse, spreading a toxic gas through the air. All that filth swallows Fafnir, completely locking the big guy in place instantly. Totally lost, the servant stares at his own muscles, not understanding the sudden weakness. The system panel chimes, warning that the legend's stats are dropping hard because of that plague. Wanting to heal up, the beast asks for a buff, but Ryoga stops him to test out a theory. For the test, a mystic aura glows on the creature's finger, revealing the hidden power. He figures dark magic just swallows curses, and soon enough the system cancels the whole debuff. Catching on to the logic, the boss realizes undead energy wipes out this poison easily. Deep down, the dragon respects the leader's genius for solving the puzzle in a split second. Then, the mimic pushes forward, attacking them with that plague cloud all over again. Quickly, the hero taps the servant's shoulder, telling him he's about to do something crazy. The profane blessing kicks in instantly, and Fafnir feels the two spells clashing right inside him. And that's where it gets crazy. The enemy beast freezes on the spot, not understanding what went wrong. Right then, the legend realizes the masters sent holy power straight down the spell's link. Taking that divine damage, the shadow gets wrecked, since the kid is basically a priest too. Ryoga laughs, announcing the test is over, and launches a brutal strike that slices through the air. With zero defense, the massive monster takes all the damage, getting hit in multiple spots by the blow. Walking up to the mimic, the MC steps on what's left of it, hunting for the kill reward. Right in the middle, he finds the mask totally intact and stashes the piece super carefully. Kronos thinks the master's taste is pretty morbid, but the mask is just another key to the exit. The entire plan requires gathering 2 different monsters to place on an altar. By pulling off this ritual, the boss door finally unlocks, just like the legend explained. A rookie mistake is smashing the items during the kill, ruining the chance to use them later. Complaining about the rule, Kronos agrees that this puzzle stalled people out for almost a year, but what really shocks the MC is how that genius girl figured it all out completely on her own. Yuma nudges the boss, pointing out a nasty brawl going down in the next hallway, letting out a laugh. The kid jokes mentally that he summoned her just by thinking about it. Way in the back, Asaka Maire is absolutely crushing a battalion of mimics in a broken hallway. Gripping her blade tight, the future saint faces the chaos with terrifying swagger. A beast lunges blindly for the kill, running straight into her flawless battle stance. Like a lightning bolt, the hunter slices the enemy right in half, clearing the target off the map instantly. Kronos goes wild over the magic cut, and the master explains the Gale Sword does exactly that. Wasting no time, Ryoga sets the pace, forcing his own group to sprint deeper inside. Out of the corner of her eye, Mirai spots that weird group vanishing into the shadows over there. Finding it sketchy, the girl notices they're running with a clear focus, almost like they know something. Her teammate tries to calm her down, swearing it's impossible for some rookies to know the trick now. Far from there, the MC keeps pushing forward, stepping hard toward that epic treasure. In the legend's mind, nobody walks through a deadly maze with that much confidence for nothing. As Ryoga walks, he turns his head to check on the rivals. By pure instinct, he knows their path is going to cross with her guild real soon. Just the same, the genius girl swears their paths are tied together in this mission. Jumping over the gaps, the MC rushes in, watching the walls shift even faster now. When the shaking stops, the crew drops down, gasping from exhaustion in a room packed with corpses. Barely breathing, one partner complains it's already been 5 days and the horde never ends. Another guy whines that this hell is worse than the worst hunting grounds, with so many beasts spawning out of nowhere. The squad's lookout shakes in fear, pointing at more trouble brewing over there. Rising from the dust, another pair of cursed cultists steps right into the crew's sights. Like a bull, Fafnir raises that giant fist, getting ready to drop the hammer. Closing the gap fast, the legend buries a brutal punch straight into one of their chests. The duo is so weak, they just disintegrate, sinking right into the hall's marble floor. Kronos praises the warrior's courage and strength, mocking the kid's total lack of heroism. Ignoring the teasing, Ryoga points his staff, sending his own zombie troop into the brawl. The armored goons clash shields and march like tanks to crush whatever beasts are left. Catching the vibe, the MC triggers life drain, stealing whatever juice is left in the corpses. And what do you know? The game pings level 27, pulling a massive smile from the boy. Enjoying the theme, he celebrates the combo, but the fairy demands more of a villain attitude. Ryoga tells the thing to shut up, tired of the annoying etiquette police in the middle of chaos. Acting super cynical, the hero apologizes with the heaviest irony in the world. Walking up to the stone base, he slots the last 2 bizarre trophies right into the pillar. Now with the pieces in place, the structure lights up with blue magic. Noticing the strong rivals aren't around, the kid realizes a golden chance just fell into his lap. He gives the order to fall back so the group can sell their loot, and Yuma asks where the MC is heading. Lying smoothly, he swears he's gonna grind a few more beasts, and the partner buys the excuse easily. Minutes later, the legend and the master sneak right back with their squad to the portal's entrance. Full of bad intentions, the kid steps into the ruins, diving back into the dark without a second thought. The dragon warns that the place shifted again, suggesting they bounce before the chaos gets worse. But Ryoga shuts down the retreat, declaring he's not stopping now. Flashing a tense smile, he announces the prize is up next, and the beast catches onto the strategy. To wrap it up, the MC reveals the pattern trick, making it all click for the dragon. Since the zombies are way too dumb, the duo has to sprint to plug the pieces in fast. Hyped by the chaos, he tells him to step on it because the crazy race just started. Right then, the kid's face shifts as he feels the pressure of the clock breathing down his neck. Running for his life, the hero speeds up, dodging giant rocks crashing down from the ceiling. With terrible luck, a minion gets crushed by a rock, dying in the dust instantly. Sweating cold, the boss focuses on the route, praying to find the safe zone before turning to dust. The whole maze spins like like crazy, mixing rooms and ceilings into a killer mess. Turning his head, the boy desperately tries to reach the final puzzle pillar by any means necessary. Thank God Fafnir points out the target and the duo sprints straight for it. Reaching out his arm, the kid tastes victory right there in his grasp. And man, no one saw that coming. The entire stone wall flicks right on top of him. The stone wall starts falling, ready to crush the hero who's cursing the whole situation. Letting out a roar, the beast tells the master to hit the deck so he doesn't become a pancake. With absurd reflexes, Ryoga throws the loot high up straight into his partner's hand. The big guy catches the bag mid-air, giving the kid an opening to roll away from certain death. Without a second thought, the legend slams to pieces right into the exact puzzle slots. Screaming at the top of his lungs, the giant lizard yells to the boss that the mission is done. Out of nowhere, the stone floor explodes into rubble, throwing dust and heavy tremors everywhere. Desperate, the MC screams because the boss portal stubbornly refuses to open in the chaos. Right after a crater swallows the hallway, kicking up a massive dust curtain. Sprawled on the floor, Ryoga curses his luck, watching a massive shadow swallow the scene. Luckily, the runes finally glow bright, signaling the ancient lock just broke. Cutting through the dark, magic beams shoot across the hall, stabilizing the zone's energy. Totally relieved, the hero sighs, swearing that close call almost wiped him out right there. Down on the floor, a magic circle opens up, revealing the secret stairs to the basement. The duo decides to push down the stone steps into this mysterious new area. Reaching the bottom, the kid wipes his sweat and admits he almost kicked the bucket. Fafnir checks out the hideout, while the master agrees the worst part is finally here. Stretching his muscles, the legend gets hyped for the kill as the boy locks in completely. Side by side, they stop right in front of the gigantic double doors of the final boss room. The sign up top clearly drops the boss's name, the masked Death Guardian. Right then, the hero feels that heavy pressure leaking straight out of the room. Raising his hand to open the door, he shifts into a focused stance, ready for a heavy brawl. Super slowly, Ryoga pushes the heavy wood to peek at what's waiting in the pitch black, but a monstrous roar bursts from the back, giving away the beast hiding inside. The villain steps up, looking like a bizarre fusion of a giant eyeball and a bunch of masks. Disgusted by the freak's ugly face, Fafnir gets a quick nod of agreement from his master. Not waiting around, the creature charges up a truly sinister pressure. Without any warning, a laser of pure evil tears through the room, looking to roast the targets. Stepping up, the legend takes the front line and pops a dense shield to tank the hit. He grips his hands tight, blocking the beam and promising to keep the boss alive. That floating eyeball reacts by setting up a cursed circle for a totally different, cheap attack. This sneaky tactic catches the kid completely off guard, leaving him frozen on the spot. Out of nowhere, a surreal headache just fries his brain like a nasty curse. The MC's mind sinks straight into a nightmare packed with creepy shadows glaring from the dark. After that, the hallucination starts melting and distorting everything right in front of him. Catching on to his partner's paralysis, Fafnir gets annoyed and asks what's going on. Highly suspicious, the giant beast steps closer to see the hero locked in pure mental torture. Full of mockery, the boss tells the human to just close his eyes and accept the big L. Pumping up his power, the Guardian hunts for that perfect opening to land the finishing blow. And this is where it gets good. The beast freezes completely, hearing the MC laugh at this whole circus. Flashing a smirk, Ryoga effortlessly blocks the attack using his class's built-in mental immunity. Immediately, a visual plague strikes back and cracks the freak's faces right open. That whole cluster of masks goes into shock as extreme weakness melts their muscles on the spot. To wrap it up, the reverse buff drops the boss's overall power by a clean 20%.